from a ban on flushing toilets all the way to the restriction of chewing gum. Let's dive right into the top 10 weirdest laws that you might have broken. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have no gum. You know when some people choose to do something wrong and then it ruins things for everyone who wasn't doing the wrong thing? Yeah, well that's exactly what happened in Singapore, and now no one can chew gum. There were some people who decided to try and mess with the mass rapid transit system, and they used chewing gum to do it. These people ended up costing the Housing and Development Board $150,000 a year just to clean up this gum, so in 1992 they banned it. They banned all gum substances, and so anyone importing, selling, or making gum can potentially face fines or even jail time. In 2004, however, there was an exemption made for those who needed gum for therapeutic, dental, or nicotine chewing gum reasons, and those can be bought from a doctor or a pharmacist. In our number 9 spot today, we have strange cows. This law is one that was repealed in 1974 because at one point, I'm sure this made a lot of sense, but surely by 1974 and especially by now, it is just hilarious. This law is from Texas, and it stated that whoever, without the consent of the owner, shall take up, use, or milk any cow not his own, faced a $10 fine. How weirdly specific. There was a law and a specific amount of a fine set up just for milking a stranger's cow. I mean, I feel like I understand why this one is illegal, because how strange is it to milk someone else's cow? A little intrusive if you ask me, to be honest. Of course, the only reason you'd be milking someone else's cow would be to steal the milk, and that is rude to do now, but back in the day that could have had much heavier implications. Although that specific law was repealed, there is still a law in Texas that is in regards to the same sort of thing. It is still illegal to milk someone's cow without permission, but now you'll be charged with theft and trespassing instead of that flat $10 rate. Also, who wants to be the weirdo stealing milk straight from a cow? That's just strange. I don't know how you'd explain that, really. In our number 8 spot today, we have Hold It. Remind Taylor and I that we can never take a trip to Switzerland if this law really does exist, not because it's not a stunningly beautiful place and I'm sure filled with wonderful people, but because I'm not sure we could take this trip without breaking this law. Basically, if you're one of those people like Taylor who wakes up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, make sure you don't flush if you're in Switzerland and it's after 10 p.m. because this is actually considered to be contributing to noise pollution. That flushing sound might just mean that you are breaking the law. I mean, it seems a little extreme, but as someone who really values peace and quiet, I do kind of understand this one a little bit. That or toilets in Switzerland are just extremely loud and I am blissfully unaware. Can any Swiss people confirm this one? What do you do in this case? I just have a lot of questions. In our number 7 spot today, we have no fun. Since 1966 in Victoria, Australia, it has been illegal to fly a kite in a public space if it bothers someone else. You actually can't even play a game in a public space if it's gonna annoy someone else. Really hope you don't have a Karen in the neighborhood, I guess, or no jump rope for you. This was listed as a part of the Summary Offences Act, but it's crazy that this is something that came into effect as recently as 1966 and not hundreds of years ago. It just seems like such a random rule to instate. And it was way more popular to see these kinds of quote no fun laws in legislation from centuries ago. Or footloose, I guess. Anyways, all of this aside, I don't think that there are many Aussies who will be upset if you choose to fly a kite on a nice breezy day. In our number 6 spot today, we have selfie etiquette. This is one law that actually makes quite a bit of sense to me. This law comes from Sri Lanka, and it basically has to do with the etiquette that should be seen when someone is around a statue of Buddha. Of course, many people, whether local or tourists, will stop at a Buddha statue to admire it, to pay respects, to pray, and in this day and age, of course, a lot of times this comes with a selfie. Here's the thing though, regular selfie pose is a no-no for this one, and that is because turning your back to Buddha is a huge offense. You could be forced to delete the photos. I mean, who would even want the evidence of you committing this crime anyway? And if you were to refuse deleting them, things might go as far as to have the police called. There are definitely other ways, positions, and poses where you can snap a pic with the statue, but just never with your back to it. In our number 5 spot today, we have tree climbers. I feel like I should have known of this law before, especially considering the fact that it comes from just outside of Toronto in Oshawa, Ontario, but despite that, this one is news to me. Don't get too excited on your next park day in Oshawa and end up climbing a tree, because that is apparently strictly forbidden. One of the bylaws for the city says, quote, no person shall interfere with a tree or part of a tree located on municipal property, including, but not limited to, attaching, affixing, or placing upon in any matter any object or thing to a tree or part of a tree and climbing the tree. That was a long way to say that. Yeah, the law states that there is just simply no tree climbing allowed. This does again seem like a kind of footloose rule, but it is said to to have been made with only safety in mind. The Canadian law discussion talked about how this law came to be and said that it was put in place to stop citizens from trying to act like Spider-Man. The city of Oshawa is just out here trying to care for the citizens and their safety. In our number 4 spot today, we have royal fish. This is one law that came into existence because someone was feeling a little greedy. Since 1324, it has been decreed that all beached whales in the UK belong to the king or queen, and we can all thank Edward II for this one. In 1324, he passed a law defining whales, sturgeons, dolphins, and porpoises caught within 5 kilometers of the shore as, quote, royal fish. These fish collected a lot of money in medieval markets, and those who were wealthy wanted these fish for their special feasts and their banquets. So of course, instead of purchasing them with your riches, what else would you do? Well, you just make up a law so that you can steal them, of course. What's even crazier is that this law actually hasn't been repealed, and in 2014 there was a fisherman who caught a 10-foot sturgeon near Wales, and he actually had to ask Queen Elizabeth's permission to sell it. Apparently, she told him that he could use the catch, quote, as he saw fit. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Lightbulb Moment. Another Victoria, Australia law. Apparently, it is illegal to change a light bulb. At first, I thought it was a little insane, but basically, you just need a valid license to do so, which means only certified electricians are allowed to change them. It is a little extreme and probably really inconvenient, but I think that playing this one on the safe side can't be ridiculed too much. Electricity could be a pretty terrifying thing, especially when you don't really know what you're doing. For sure, not the most difficult task an electrician faces, but hey, it's gotta be done. I just have to ask though, what happens if your light goes out on like a Saturday or a Sunday? Do you have to pay premium light bulb changing prices? How much does the light bulb change cost in the first place? Who supplies the light bulbs? I don't know, I've just got a lot of questions. In our number 2 spot today, we have walking time. Dogs everywhere, rejoice, this one is for you. If you live in Turin, Italy and have a dog, you better be prepared to get your steps in, because taking your dog for any less than 3 walks a day is considered a crime. This one makes a lot of sense considering how many neglectful dog owners are out there, and I am totally on board with holding these people accountable. Not getting outside for 3 walks a day could land you a fine of 500 euros. Italy is known as an animal-loving nation, and they actually have a few other laws in place to protect animals, including strays. If you're planning on or already live in Italy, this law is definitely something to consider before getting a beloved furry friend. Honestly, even outside of Italy, this is something that every dog owner should get in the habit of practicing, under the threat of fine or not. In our number 1 spot today, we have birthday rules. This is a law that I can surely get behind. In Samoa, it is illegal to forget your wife's birthday. I've always agreed that this should in fact be a crime. Should you happen to be forgetful and end up missing this day, you are required to compensate your wife for doing so, and if your wife was feeling extra spiteful and decided to perhaps complain to the police, you might even have to answer to the law. Definitely one of the more extreme and surprising laws on this list, but I'm sure the wives are happy. I guess here it's definitely good practice to keep your wife as happy as possible, or else, who knows, she might just go end up complaining about it to the police. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!